good morning. Welcome to the American Scouser TV pre-match show, Crystal Palace versus Liverpool, at this godforsaken hour of the morning. But why do we do it? Because we love Liverpool FC and because we love you people out there. I'm joined at I don't know what time of the week it is by Sir Z in his time zone, and by Brian, who's in our time zone. But Sir Z, how are you, apart from incredibly tired?
I'm good, Naka. Thank you. I just feel it probably during the match when we've got 99% possession of the ball and haven't done anything with it.
It sent us back to sleep, to be fair. So, we win either way. Brian, how are you?
Pretty good. It's like waking up with another normal work day, it seems like, to go to watch Liverpool.
Yeah, there's no rest for the wicked, so he must be the wickedest. Especially as we always seem to get the 7:30 games, as Klopp constantly pointed out back in the day. But it is a new era and a new lineup, it looks like, for a league game. And let's get straight to that. We have, in that numerical order that I just don't really understand why they do that. But the surprising thing is that there is no Kelleher on the bench. Injury related, maybe, or just rotation because he's going in January and everybody knows it except us. But we've got Alisson in goal, traditional back four, Kanate, Van Dijk, Robertson, and Trent. Midfield, Jones gets in there. That's a nice little change. And then McAllister and Gravenberg, the double pivot of heaven this season so far. And then up front, Gakpo in for Diaz, Jota, and then Salah, of course. So Z, what is your reaction to that lineup?
Yeah, it definitely woke me up. My alarm went off. I pressed snooze back twice, and then I looked at the alarm like, okay, I'm awake. Thank God I didn't put money on this. I thought it was guaranteed we'll get the same lineup as last week. So it's great that he's learned the word rotation this week, and it's part of his going Dutch to English, and it's not bad changes. Just worried that Kelleher might be injured because Alisson doesn't have the best injury record, and if we can rely on Jaros for coming in for Alisson if Kelleher is injured. But other than that, no, the good changes, unexpected, but yeah, it's good.
Brian, we have talked on the Thursday show about Slot having a league team, a cup team, and a European team. Diaz and Szoboszlai are on the bench, so clearly this is a rotation rather than an injury situation for players. Because you would have to assume if anybody had a knock, they're not playing at all. Like, they're not going to risk them this early in the season. So yet again, subtly in very un-Dutch ways, Arne Slot is kind of confounding our expectations, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, this lineup definitely goes there and shows some things that they're definitely, I would rotate anyway, because I said I was in Discord that I thought we needed to rotate. I wasn't really sure how much of a rotation we were going to get. The one thing, there's a couple spots here that have question marks on me. I mean, definitely Simicast came there starting over top of Gomez right there is kind of a little question for me. But I guess that with Gapco's ability to track back a little bit better than what Diaz does right there, that does kind of make up for Simicast's runs that he doesn't really go back as much on. I think that the Jones move is a fantastic move. I think that we've seen Jones go there and go into that position and thrive. So I think that's definitely a good spot for him to do. And really, I think that 10 spot is up in the air for somebody to win it at the moment. I mean, because Jones came in a couple matches ago and looked like he was really flat. And I think that if Jones wants that spot, he needs to take advantage of that. I mean, before Harvey comes back in probably about December time frame, I think probably will be about time he'll be ready to recompete for that. But I mean, you have to kind of keep your base anyway. I mean, because I don't think that we're in a position to rotate the Gravenberch and McAllister spots right now. I don't think there's anybody out there that we can rotate with at the moment. Until we bring a solid holding midfielder in, or another central midfielder who can fill those slots. But I'm excited by it. I think it's a good lineup.
So see, on Thursday night, we spoke about the midfield in relation to Gravenberg, but what we talked about was that Gravenberg is doing a great job at number 6, but he's also a number 8 if he wants to be. He can play that role and he can do a little bit of the number 10 role, just maybe not as well as everybody else. McAllister was started off the season as the number 6 and played that there for Klopp, and is a great attacking midfielder as well, and a really good box-to-box player. And Jones is a good number 6 for somebody who's not a number 6, and is a creative player and can get box-to-box. That midfield looks like it's going to be incredibly mobile and interchanging today, doesn't it?
It does. I don't think Jones. I wouldn't put Jones in that defensive midfield type of area. I don't think he can cut it.
No, he's not. He's not a number 6, but he can tackle. Like he has to go in there in an emergency. It's not like Joe Allen being in there, for example.
The worst player.
Love Joe, but still, he's not that. It's not Joe Allen.
It's an exciting change. When Jones came on last week, he looked like he really wanted that position when he played Wolves last week. So it's there, like Brian was saying, it's the position that seems out of all the positions there. It's one that's kind of up for grabs, if it were. So yeah, it's good for Jones. I mean, he gave it. He spoke a lot during preseason, and I think he felt he was guaranteed a spot there because he thought it was becoming a teacher's pet during the summer, and it didn't work out for him. So definitely now it's there. He's got to impress. Hopefully this isn't his only chance to impress, but yeah, he's got to grab it. It's not shown. You don't get that many lifelines, and he's got one, so he has to grab that with everything he has.
Trevor with the way too early in the morning for a Welsh Xavi reference. Too early in the morning for a Welsh Xavi reference. That's why he's Joe Allen. Back out of retirement as well, I think, apparently, to play for Wales. But international retirement, I mean. Let's look at the Crystal Palace lineup. Apparently, I just read on the BBC thing before we went online, BBC page, that still looking for a league win. I don't know whether I read that in the haze of a bleary-eyed awakening and it was correct, or whether I misread it. But there's rumors during the week that we're in for Guehi. We're looking for him in maybe January. He's a decent player. He's one of those players, the type of player that stands out in a Roy Hodgson team, but maybe not so much in a non-Roy Hodgson team, because it's usually 10 defenders and one attacker in a Roy Hodgson team. And when you're the attacker in the Roy Hodgson team, you look a bit good. But is there anything there, Brian, that makes you go, ooh, got to look out for that one?
Well, I mean, I think that is definitely somebody who right there, who I look at, and also same thing with Adam, with Wharton too, because I think Wharton's pretty class. I mean, I think that he's definitely going to get picked out of Crystal Palace after this season. So those are things to look at right there. I think that Nakia right there really is kind of. I just think that he never really prospered over at his previous club, and I think that's why he was grabbed up pretty cheap right there for Crystal Palace to go there to use. So I mean, I was just look at. I think the matchup right there is see how on our left side right there is going to be the matchup right there, especially with Tsimikas coming there as our left back. That's the thing that I'm going to look at in the long run and see how well Tsimikas can go there. Will hold on to that side.
So see, the game could well be won from the bench, and right now our bench looks stronger than theirs, but they do have Nathan Klein on their bench. So or Nathaniel Klein, pardon me. It's nice to see that guy, Kleiny, as Klopp used to call him. But if it comes down to it, if we're looking at another knockdown, drag out, 90% possession, we haven't done anything with it yet. We need to make some changes. Obviously, we should be in a better position from our bench, but as we say frequently on Thursday, Susie, would you trust Nunes to be the match winner right now, if needed?
I think that's more than Nunes to be the match winner if either one of them to come on. But yeah, with Nunes, you kind of know what you're going to get, which is you don't know what you're going to get. So it just depends what Nunes shows up. But yeah, hopefully we don't have to rely on the bench. This is another banana skin of a game. I know I haven't won a game this season, and it wouldn't surprise me if they give us a good game. That midfield, with Wharton, actually Wharton and Eze, they're kind of scary. And Sarr, I just still have flashbacks to Sarr when he scored that hat trick against us and he broke that winning record that season when we won the league. And it just seems the type of game where he's just going to come out and just play one decent game for the last 5 years, and this is going to be it. So it's definitely a potential banana skin. But yeah, going back to the thing, it does seem like, I don't know about Nunes. I think if anyone's going to win the game and then we have to run the bench, it will be Diaz.
Mm-hmm.
Brian, looking at the formation there for Crystal Palace, for all intents and purposes, according to LiveScore, they're going to play 3-4-3. Frequently, that may change as the kickoff happens, but if it's a 3-4-3, are we looking for? Do you think Arne Slot looked at that they might play a 3-4-3 and used Gakpo because the wings are going to be overloaded? We will probably win the central midfield battle, but the wings are going to be a little bit overloaded, and we need somebody who will track back and maybe, as we're talking about Diaz, maybe he is the match winner because at the point when he comes on, we've probably tired Crystal Palace out with all the running around after our 7,000 passes. But if we are in any way deficient on the wings, that could be where we get a bit of trouble.
Which goes back to what I said earlier about the simulcast thing right there, which I still kind of confused a little bit about why Gomez wasn't picked over top of him. I mean, I think that as far as a defending aspect there, Gomez is leaps and bounds above simulcast. But if we want to go there and have if Gap goes in there to do a little bit more backtracking with him and the complement right there, simulcast is running forward, then I completely understand where Slot's coming with that. So yeah, I think that I agree with Sir Z right there. Diaz is a match winner that we have in there and on the squad. I mean, even right there, I've been saying for a couple of weeks up there. I mean, why can't we just come there and try putting Szoboszlai on that right wide position that Mo sits in if we take Mo off? I mean, because he's fast. I mean, has that ability right there to draw defenders in. I mean, it's something to try, but I mean, I don't know how. I know Dutch aren't very adventurous with their players. But I think that it'd be worth a shout out right there to look at because Zinzi did play that same position at RBL. I mean, so let's see what it goes. But I definitely think that Gakpo is a stopgap kind of like of a player right there, where Diaz does not track back as well.
I just realised how early in the morning it is because I said it was Robertson at the start and not Simicas. So it's Simicas at left back. And here's our lineup, the traditional 4-3-3. You'd imagine Jones and McAllister have a lot of flexibility to move. And then Gravenberch, when he gets forward, is definitely going to be covered. Talking about the wings, Salah doesn't track back. Not often. I mean, he's not a complete Gary Lineker for anybody who remembers those days of just literally staying forward and never doing any defensive work at all. But Jota does track back into midfield, and that may free somebody up to help out Trent from the central positions. We're not the counter-attacking team we were before. It's still in the DNA. We still can spring a good, quick counter-attack, but it's not how we operate anymore. So the idea of keeping Salah up by the halfway line, as we did under Klopp a lot, isn't really something we entertain, it seems, these days. So is it more important than ever that Salah gets a bit more mobile? And have we seen that from him, if that's the case, so far this season?
I think we've seen more defensive from Salah this season. But then he, like the other night, he was misplacing passes while he was like in defense, and I think he probably did that on purpose so he doesn't have to come back and defend. But I don't think he's not getting the ball as often as he was under Clark. He's like he's having a weird season. As many goals as he's scoring in our last couple of games, his passes have been the critical passes that could have put the game, games out of reach completely. He's conundrum right now. It's like I think Slot's the type of manager who doesn't, when he's asked about players, he doesn't give players too much of an ego. But it's Salah. It's kind of like getting to that Cristiano Ronaldo situation where kind of just let him do what he wants to do because he's just world class. He's definitely the best right wing that the Premier League has ever had, and he doesn't show any signs of slowing down in regards to putting his nose up. So he was like one of them players. As much as Slot wants to put his authority on this squad, I think he'll never drop Salah unless he's injured. So it's weird with Salah. Like you just kind of like quietly just let him do what he wants, but and just hope it pays off.
Brian, I just saw there. Simon Hooper is the referee. Do you think? I can't even remember the names of referees these days. That's how all generic and interchangeable they are. Probably why they're all shaving their heads, thinking they could stand out, and then they've all got shaven heads, and now nobody stands out. But Brian, do you think the referee will be a factor in today's game?
No, I mean, Hooper really hasn't really done anything as far as like that's like spotlight on as far as his officiating. He's pretty fair. I mean, so I'm not concerned about that. I think the biggest thing with him to do is we have to play our game. I mean, and that's it. I mean, I just don't think that you could. I'm starting to kind of get over the whole thing of finger pointing officials every time we turn around. I mean, yeah, they make poor decisions a lot of times right there, but I think that for the most part right there, some of them are pretty decent. I mean, and I think that we just have to keep. It's kind of like it turns into being a situation where we keep on looking at officials to blame us for our poor play. I mean, and I think that a lot of times right there, it's you have to go and finger point us of why we're doing this right there. I mean, for example, like the Man United supporters like finger pinning off of Bruno Fernandes with his red card that he got right there. I mean, okay, that's doesn't make up for how poor you played against Spurs.
In terms of the scoreline, Susie, I don't know. I haven't followed the Discord this week because mortgages have to be paid and phones have to be turned off and work. But what is your score prediction for this game? And do you think now that we see the lineup and there's a rotation, do you think somebody's going to stand out that maybe didn't? Maybe that either Tsimikas, Gakpo, or Jones, or somebody who's going to stand out who usually doesn't because that rotation gives them a bit more space or something like that.
I think Gakpo will stand out. I think he's got it in him because every time he's come on or played, he hasn't disappointed. Like Jones, I don't know, he's like 50-50. It's you expect him to do well, but then he could have a mirror thing because the pressure's on. I mean, it's a tough game. Like as much as obviously they're not showing it this season. Palace is still a tough game. They're one of our bogey teams, and it's just I don't know. I'm nervous about this one. As far as score, I think it couldn't win this 2-1, but it's going to be a very tense game, I think.
Brian, what's your scoreline, and has it changed since Thursday? Do you think now that you've seen the lineup, and then who do you think will the stand-up player be?
I'm still sticking with what I said right there, 2-1/3-1 win right there. I still think that Konate is going to be a standout player because I think that he's I think he's on like I said earlier on Thursday right there. I think he's in the little hiccup that he did last week right there. I think and how he rebounded for it right there. I think that was a good mental a good mental spot for him to go there to move forward. And I'm really appreciating him staying healthy and actually through this whole entire period. I mean, because look, I mean, I never imagined we'd get to so many string of games with Kanate right there last season that we had him. So yeah, a good on Slot and his physios and his team right there keeping these players healthy.
Brian says Crystal Palace is our bogey team, especially away from home. And I do remember many a nightmare under many a different Crystal Palace manager to that effect. Yep. What did I say on Thursday? It was 4-0, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I'm going to stick with that, but a Cody Gakpo hat trick. That's my prediction. He's going to be the standout player. So it is 7:06. We've got 25 minutes to go. In terms of just before we do anything, number one, thank you for everybody who's up this early as well, watching us on the Twitter, the YouTube, and the Facebook, and for the comments. And on the Facebook likes, a particular thank you to Marco, Norbolto, Lee Anderson, our own Trevor, Basiro, Suso, Carvalho, Emmanuel. We're getting all the Liverpool names here. And then probably the best name I've ever heard on any sort of social media, Betty Scoggins. Thank you, Betty, for the like. That's a fantastic name. I love it. Susie, Glasner, new manager for Crystal Palace. Arne Slot, new manager for Liverpool. Obviously, different fortunes. We haven't seen anything, I don't think, from Slot that would make you worry right now. I'm not to harp on yet again, as we do on Thursday, and as I apparently do, about Brendan Rodgers, as lovely as that one great season was, and as hopeful as we all were about it, he did start off pretty inauspiciously. I think it was what 3 draws and 3 losses or something like that in the first 6 games. And you were always kind of like wondering what the plan is. And then you could see it sometimes. And then by January, once we got Coutinho and Sturridge in, then you could kind of see where everything was going. And then once Suarez and Sturridge and Coutinho started to find their rhythm, then you could really see, okay, so this is the plan. Let's see where it goes next season. But we haven't done that with Slot. We've hit the ground running. Do you think the fact that he has already won a league title, the fact that he's already been in successful campaigns, as opposed to, say, Brendan Rodgers when he came in, whose promotion with Swansea was essentially his only achievement, do you think that experience with Slot is going to help us a lot more? Because this is not a surprise to him. Being top of the league is not a surprise to him. Competing in a sense where you have to have your best game every week is not a surprise to him.
No, I think Slot is in that rare position where he took over a successful manager. Usually when a new manager comes in, it's because the other ones got fired. I mean, going back to Rodgers, I personally don't think he had a plan. I think he got bailed out by Jared and Suarez, and he just kind of ran with it. And he was just in the right place at the right time, as far as they're concerned. And yeah, we got Coutinho on a bargain and Sturridge on a bargain. So I really don't give Rodgers any credit other than for when he got fired, and that's the best thing that happened to Rodgers' tenure. But in regards to Slot, I think when you see him, and my fear was that he was going to be another Ten Hag or Louis van Gaal, and like it's just testament to his character. Like, you know, he hasn't come in and tried to make wholesale changes or change the structure of a team, and where we're playing completely different. It obviously it's a lot more possession based in terms of midfield, and we're not just going direct. But he's still, you know, even in his press conferences, he's credit Klopp, and you know, and it's, you know, and he keeps saying that. And again, it's very similar to how when Paisley took over Shankly. And I know that the comparisons that we make, and maybe you know, with those sitting glasses on, you know, we made these comparisons, but he's just like quietly just getting on with his job, and he's just one of the managers who just don't. He's not rubbing people up the wrong way. The media can't really attack him. No, our rival fans can't really attack him. You know, he's just like do his bit and just give him credit where it's due. And I think Brian said it the other day. Like what I like his title is coach, and that's what he's doing. He's hands on with his coaching. You know, and if you listen to the players' interviews when Klopp was leaving, Klopp really didn't spend that much time with him on the training ground. Maybe it was like 1 or 2 days, or like the day before the game, and you know, and obviously he's a man motivator, and he's a leader for anyone. You know, you can be in any industry and be a top leader, Klopp could, but with Slot, he's a lot more hands on, and I think that's the difference that we're seeing in terms of the players. But he's just, you know, he's just one of the guys, you know, you can just probably have a drink with him and just not have anything bad or anything to say with him, and the players just go on and you know, they're just playing for him, I guess.
Brian, so he makes a good point about the follow-on. I mean, we're always looking for the Shankly-Paisley connection. But another one to remember is also Gerard Houllier to Rafa, because people forget that we finished fourth under Gerard Houllier. It was just the football was there, and Gerard Houllier clearly hadn't recovered from his heart operation at the time. Like it was just obvious for like that last 2 years. But he was a successful manager. He had won the League Cup the year before, 2003. It was a team that looked like it could do something again, but maybe not under that manager. In steps Rafa, Champions League, and then FA Cup the next year. We're quite good as a club at getting that mix right more often than other clubs. But it could have gone so wrong so easily for Slot, couldn't it? He could have taken this team over and we'd be mid-table right now and complaining like the Man United fans and hoping for the best. But he has really managed the entire situation deftly, hasn't he?
Well, I think he has a plan. I think that's the difference between him and Ten Hag. I don't think Ten Hag has a plan. I think he's just putting players out there and seeing what happens. It's like, you know, when you go and grab like pickup sticks right there, where you just throw your sticks out there on the ground. I mean, it's like an old person game. I know that, but you just see how it plays out, and I think that's where you're at right there with Ten Hag. I think Slot right there again, like I said before, right there with him being a actual head coach versus a manager, he's actually putting his thumbprint on the squad right there by actually showing what he really wants. Versus, I mean, and I'm not going to knock how the previous coaching, how everything went before with Klopp and Pep Lenders and stuff like that, because it was successful. But the point is that you had to come there to have some sort of a reset right there with the squad, because I think that the squad was overheated, and I think that it needed to simmer down. It really, really had to have that moment to dial itself back down and go back into perspectives. It's kind of definitely what, like Bill said right there. You know, we had defensive issues right there with underneath the Klopp. I mean, especially with matches that really, in those first 15 minutes of matches right there, where we seemed like we were conceding every single week in that first 15 before we actually had to be the comeback kids every time right there. And after a while, you know, our hearts came there and couldn't handle it, and I don't think the squad right there could handle it towards the end right there. So I think that calming them down, come there and say, "Hey, guess what? Let's play the ball. Look for your points, your points to attack, and then go from that point. Go from there is the way going forward." And I do think that you're going to see a little bit more different things, kind of like how you mentioned with Brendan Rodgers up there. I think that when you see a little bit more movement happen in January, I think that we'll definitely have a little bit more of a idea of what Slot really wants to do with the squad. Because I think that right now he's making do with what he has, because what he wanted wasn't available to him, or wasn't being able to be attained in the summertime right there to move his Liverpool forward.
I just want to say good morning to Hassan there. He's in the same time zone as Z, so it may be 4 a.m., but it's still Wednesday for you guys, I'm sure. So before we wrap everything up, so Z, we're talking about the defensive lapses. Do you expect a clean sheet today?
No.
And the fact that you're thinking
Palace.
about it, does that mean there's still some PTSD left over from the Klopp era?
Bit of both, yeah. PTSD from side of it just cracks me up. PTSD from
Saidu. He's playing. You got to get used to it. He'll be great.
yeah, it's PTSD from Palace. It's just Palace. They just yeah. I still remember to this day when we 0 up, and I was like, yeah, and I'm just watching this like self-capitulate, and and last season, like just being us at home, it's just one of them teams like I don't know, I don't like Palace at all. No, I'm not expecting a clean sheet. These banana skin games, I think, they're just nervy for me. But just going back to something that Brian was saying on the question you asked, I think what the difference is this season and what Tyler was saying midweek, that under Klopp, we didn't care about the opposition. We played our own game. I think the difference is this season, we're actually, what he said was that Slot is now, they're now taking consideration of the opposition, and we're manipulating our game to the opposition. Whereas Klopp was just like, we're Liverpool. This is who we are. This is who you're going to face. So I think that's the biggest difference, and I think that's where players are, I guess, working a little bit more because now they're having to think about the opposition and what the opposition might be doing and so forth. But I think that's the biggest difference this season.
Brian, what do you think? Is it clean sheet or no clean sheet?
I'm still worried about about the left side. I guess Simicast gives me PTSD right there when he goes through there. I just think, there's so many defensive lapses that he does, and that whole and with his play. So I'm kind of worried about that. But I do think that we're going to win. But I do think there is going to be a goal. It's going to slip through there somehow.
I think that we're gonna have there's an echo there in the background. It's not me. There you go. It's not me. Hey, I think we're gonna have a clean sheet. I'm gonna stick with my formula. I think we're gonna have a clean sheet, and we're going to Simicast is going to be the defensive linchpin, Brian. Just for you. Any changes in predictions from anybody now that we've discussed the defense? Because we didn't discuss that beforehand, but I think we're probably all set, right? 2-1 for you guys, 4-0 for me. And then we will find out in the Discord within probably the first 10 minutes now that we've said all that. And it's gonna be the Bill. That's probably the best joke we're gonna get all day today. The Liverpool echo. Thanks so much for that. That's a nice giggle to get in, Sean. But yes, I think we're gonna have the clean sheet. I think this Crystal Palace is not the Crystal Palace of years before, where they always were handy, as they say back in the day, back over across the pond. But it's 11 minutes to kick-off time. I think some of us need to recaffeinate, some of us need to retango with slaps to the face, and then we just need to get ourselves situated. But we are grateful for all the people who watch and comment and subscribe and like, and that's what you should do. You should subscribe and follow us on the YouTube and on the Facebook and Instagram and X, formerly known as Twitter. And then our Patreon as well, if you are interested in the extra goodies. But there will be a post-match. So everything we've talked about, we can all be laughed at for our predictions and our analysis afterwards. But I'm hoping for a good game, especially as Suzy and Hassan has to get up so early to watch it. So they better deliver, or we're all going to their houses and we're stepping on their toes violently. But we join us in 100 and something minutes, probably with 11 minutes of injury time. I suspect the way things go with VAR and injury.
VAR team, yep.
The VAR injury time. And we will hopefully be celebrating being top of the league, and hopefully we'll have a good weekend where results go for us and we can have a bit of separation as we go into the international break. But for all intents and purposes, we're going to have a nice slot-managed victory, celebrated and heralded in by the trap music. See it in 2 hours, guys. Peace out.
Have a
Here
good
we
one.
go.